Okay, good news is I found some mojo. Bad news is I don't remember the last 3 days. Second good news is I haven't forgotten what we'll be covering. Today, we are going to cover Scorponok and Barricade making their big moves, as well as some other hijinks sprinkled throughout. Without further ado, let's get into it. My name is Paul, and this is Plot Spot. Welcome to Plot Spot, the place where we analyze stories and try to determine what makes them succeed or fail. Last time, we covered Frenzy's attack on Air Force One and Bumblebee's weird trip to the train yard, as well as Maggie deciding to investigate her theory. But before we follow up on that plot point, we need to check in with our favorite soldiers. Lennox's team has finally arrived at Mafus's village, but before they even get inside, something traveling under the sand knocks over a sign, and then everyone kind of doesn't care. Weird, knowing that they fought some kind of advanced technology already, you think they would be on high alert for anything strange. Then Scorponok prepares to spear Lennox as he does jack shit, and these guys in the background watch passively. It's not until Epps, and not Lennox for some reason, is alerted by the sound of Scorponok's stinger that everyone springs into action. Michael, get your actors to not be looking at where you know the giant robot is going to be. It's not that hard.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
So all hell breaks loose, and everyone shoots at the ground and Scorponok as he jumps in and out of the sand. Oddly, Mafus is absent during all this mayhem. Is it because he's a Decepticon spy, perhaps? Nah, it's probably because the producers didn't want to come up with something for a kid to do during this shooting. Then Scorponok comes up behind Donnelly and spears him in the back while he has absolutely no reaction. I get that he was going to die. I don't think there was any way out for him, but surely he would have started to turn before Scorponok killed him. Don't know why they didn't just have Scorponok kill him faster. I know I said this is a better scene, and it is. These are the main problems. It's all pretty good from here on out. The soldiers, plus their adolescent guide, run for the village, fleeing the murderous robotic scorpion, while the elders of said village look on calmly, like a simple storm is coming their way. But someone must have raised the alarm because they decide to arm up and demonstrate both poor gun safety and a poor grasp of battlefield tactics by firing into the air. As the soldiers and Qatari village people dig in, Scorponok bursts from the sand and exchanges fire with them. Lennox gives out orders and brings Mafus to his father and gets the man's cell phone from him. However, things don't go according to plan as the operator on the other side of the line demands a credit card to put the call through to the Pentagon. Now, perhaps this is me being inconsistent, but I like this juxtaposition from the chaos of the battlefield to the calm, Muzak-filled call center that demonstrates just how different things can be at the same time in different locations. I think it's also good use of unexpected comedy, and they don't carry it on too long. Apparently, also, Michael Bay got the idea of this scene from a Navy SEAL who described a similar story.
This scene right here with Josh was something that I remember a real SEAL telling me that happened down in Grenada where they were trapped in a house, they lost all their comms, and they had a cell phone and they had to call to the Pentagon and literally had to get a credit card to get out of the country and link up with an operator at the Pentagon to get an airstrike to come in.
So, yay for realism? Anyways, Lennox gets Epps' credit card and finally connects to the Pentagon. Keller is alerted to it and is surprised that there are people who lived through the base attack, even though that lying sack of shit on the news earlier said that there were survivors. Epps requests gunships, and while the military pulls that together, they send in a Predator drone to recon the area. Actually, though, this is a Reaper drone, not a Predator. You could tell from the tail fins. Also, both the Predator and Reaper are propeller-powered, not jet-powered, so
WTF to that.
As Scorponok continues his firefight with the soldiers, the drone comes into range and gets eyes on him, leaving everyone utterly baffled as to what the hell is going on. They call in an airstrike, and 2 A-10 Warthogs answer the call, making a quick detour in a sunset for some reason, before arriving at the village. Lennox and his team put targeting lasers on Scorponok as one of the pilots states
Receiving radar jammy and vicinity of target.
a detail never brought up again. Unfortunately, no one notices that the giant scorpion gets in a lucky shot and hits Fig, sending him flying. The tension is maxed out in this scene. Between the music, the military chatter, and the feeling of an invincible enemy, you can't help but get excited. The Warthogs blast the Decepticon with their 30mm bullets and missiles, and amazingly, seem to do little more than stun the alien scorpion. Change of plans. Time to bring in the big guns, namely 105mm shells from an AC-130. That's right, it's time to
Bring the rain!
At last, between the gunship's 40mm and 105mm cannons, Scorponok is forced to retreat, leaving behind a part of his tail in the process. It's amazing that even after all of that, they only managed to wound him. It shows how tough these things are. Although this might not hold up across the board, particularly in later movies, but we'll get to that. What I like is that the humans aren't defenseless. They have a way to fight back and hurt the Decepticons, which they now realize and eventually take steps to neutralize. And it makes sense that humans would have defenses. We have some pretty incredible weaponry, not the least of which are nuclear weapons. Surely we would stand a chance against a Decepticon or any alien invasion, particularly with Autobot help. So, yay. However, not all is well, as Lennox and the others find Fig badly injured. They evacuate back to the States, and we never learn what happens to Fig. We see a medical curtain on the plane taking them back home afterward, but we don't see him again. In both novelizations of the movie, Fig dies of his wounds, and a shot from the trailer that didn't make it into the movie seems to imply this was filmed and cut for whatever reason. It's safe to assume he died given his injuries and that we never see him again, but he also could have just been sidelined due to his injuries. Kind of strange they don't pay that off, though. It would give Lennox even more of a reason to fight. Back in DC, Maggie decides to take matters into her own hands and copies the hacking signal onto a 2GB memory card. Huh. Would have thought it would take up more room than that. She hails a taxi, and then when the scene cuts to her arriving at her destination, it's a different taxi. What? Did she have to change cabs partway through the trip? The actual reason is that the scene of her hailing the cab is actually from that deleted scene I mentioned earlier that would have been placed before the Keller briefing scene and would have served as her introduction. This is also where we are finally given her name.
Maggie!
Anyways, enter Glen Whitman. Apparently the only hacker smart enough to break the code of the signal. Well, if that's true, why didn't the government recruit him? And why does he seem to be unemployed? All right, that's unfair. It could be his day off, but does he give employed vibes?
Shut up, Grandma!
I find this whole scene hilarious, even though it is over the top and should have been removed.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
But let's dive into it. Maggie asks for Glen's help, and he brings her back to his room where his cousin is playing Dance Dance Revolution. Maggie soon convinces Glen to get his cousin to beat it and gives him the memory card with the signal on it. Meanwhile, Keller's informed that the imager Epps used had been damaged. Would have been nice to see that, but okay. I'm not exactly sure what the point of this line is because it isn't brought up again, and I don't think the Pentagon was going to get a bunch of information from it, so it's not like a big blow to the U.S.'s defense plans. Also, the Pentagon has been alerted to Maggie making a copy of the signal. Well, you didn't have much of a head start, Mags. I hope this risk pays off. Glen also somehow owns a personal computer that is able to decipher the signal when the Pentagon's computers weren't able to. Forget Glen, the military needs that computer. Maybe that's what they are really after when they bust his door down. Also, there is a message embedded in the signal, and it seems to be the files that the Decepticons were after. That seems kind of strange, like the files left a ghost in the signal or something. Again, no expert, but I don't think that's how that works. But the FBI is here to break up the party, inexplicably bringing Knight with them. They also inexplicably found Maggie. I always got the feeling they somehow tracked the signal when Glen plugged it into his computer, but it's rather vague. It could be Maggie's cell phone, it could be tracking down all her known associates. There are just too many possibilities. We need more info. The FBI breaks in, and Glen's cousin freaks out in a funny but over-the-top sequence that ends with him getting tackled into the pool. This is why it's not smart to run from cops, folks. They quickly take Glen and Maggie into custody. We then cut to Sam doing much of nothing. Here's a bit of another tonal abnormality. It seems like just a normal weekend morning for Sam, not like he just had his car stolen the other night, only to find out it was a robot and then get arrested. It seems like he should be ruminating on all of that. Oh, and speaking of his car, here it is. After a useless call to Miles that does nothing, Sam has the bright idea to run out of his house instead of staying inside where it's harder for his car to run him over. Good thinking, genius. But I guess the script was calling him to an abandoned parking garage where Barricade can menace him. Speaking of morons who don't know how to think things through, meet Bumblebee again. What is his plan here? My guess is he is attempting to communicate with Sam about the glasses, but he's doing a terrible job. All he's doing is scaring the fragile boy and drawing attention to himself and Sam. This seems like a time to talk through the radio, my guy. But no, I'm just some asshole writing about a movie on my computer. You're the battle-hardened soldier that knows all about tactics and plans. You know better. The one good thing about this scene? Sam left his bike at the train yard, so he had to take his mom's. Good attention to detail. I guess. Sam then hits a bump, does a flip, and lands right in front of Mikaela. He does a good job of playing off his accident.
That was really awesome.
It felt awesome.
Which shows he's better at this kind of thing when he isn't trying. You should do that more, Sam. But he has no time to talk as he's being chased by his car. Mikaela tells her friends that she's going too. You know, that's a plus for Mikaela's character in that she shows genuine concern for Sam after bonding the other night. Good, because she was lacking in likable traits. You know, I was having trouble remembering what Sam even likes about her. Oh, right. Then we get this weird shot where Barricade slams the brakes in front of her for no reason other than to show off his Decepticon logo to the audience. Come on, guys. Try and be a little more creative with these things. At least make Barricade have to stop for some other reason, like a car pulling out in front of him. Sam makes it to a deserted parking garage. Bumblebee's still hot on his heels and still as silent as Snake Eyes sitting in church. Sam manages to lose him and spots Barricade coming his way. Thinking it's a cop, Sam heads his way. But somehow, he doesn't notice no one is driving, even though he basically reached the driver's side window. Barricade opens his door and knocks him to the ground. Also, what's with this shot? Bumblebee just dips out? Sorry, Sammy, I don't deal with cops or Decepticons. Call me if you run into some more pooches you need me to abracadabra away. I'm going to assume Transformers aren't able to detect other Transformers. That better be the case, or Optimus should execute the Silent Scout on the spot for such incompetence. So since that's too stupid for this movie, at least I think it is, let's assume that he thought it was a genuine cop, in which case I get pulling back. But did he have to drive to Timbuktu? He should be close enough to keep an eye on Sam, but he doesn't show up until well after Barricade reveals himself. So Sam tries to explain to Barricade's holo driver about being chased by his possessed car, and Barricade doesn't take too kindly to being smacked on the hood. He revs forward and knocks Sam over, threatening him with his continual lurches. I've always loved this scene. I feel like I've had nightmares like this, where there is something bad trying to kill you and you can't get your feet under you to run. It captures the feeling of panic very well. Some kind of thing extends from Barricade's headlight that does something or other, and then he transforms into robot mode. Sam finally gets it together and books it. I guess this might be a good place to bring up the more mature themes in this movie franchise as compared to the other Transformers series thus far, what with the violence, the sex, and the language. When I first watched this movie, it was quite a shock to my 12-year-old virgin ears. I had never seen a movie that used this much foul language in it. Of course, now when my 29-year-old virgin ears hear it, It's just another Wednesday for me. So I'm not going to bash the filmmakers for putting in more violence, sex, and language than previous Transformers shows have done. I think taking it in a more mature direction is even a good idea, and gives them freedom to depict how an alien war fought on our planet would go down. Still, this is advertising for a toy line aimed at kids, so you would think that maybe some things in this movie, and later ones, go a bit too far. Just my 2 cents. Thought I'd throw it out there. Barricade smacks Sam into a car, somehow not breaking his back. Amazing! He then interrogates Sam, revealing to the world his alter ego of Ladies Man 217, the most suave seller of antique junk no one wants on the internet. Barricade demands eBay item 21153, aka the glasses. Sam doesn't answer and runs away again, and Barricade kind of just lets him go. It seems like it should be pretty easy to keep Sam pinned, especially if you don't mind him taking some damage while doing it. Sam runs out of the parking garage and finds Mikaela, clotheslining her in the process. She sits there motionless as Barricade bears down on them while Sam begs her to run. Fortunately, the car wanders back and trips Barricade before beckoning the 2 teens inside. Sam decides to trust Bumblebee, even though as far as he knows, both he and Barricade are villains intent on hurting him. But I suppose beggars can't be choosers, so Sam takes a leap of faith and gets Mikaela to jump with him. Bumblebee flees the scene with Barricade hot in pursuit. And somehow it's sundown now, even though it was morning not too long ago.
Stop with the barking, Mojo. It's too early, please.
After some driving hijinks, it is now suddenly night.
I think it's getting dark.
And Bumblebee hides down this alley thing and locks the kids in so they don't go running off. Smart, Bee. I guess you got a brain upgrade between scenes. Barricade drives past them and stops just past the line of sight. I don't really get what these two are doing. I feel like they both have to know that the other is there, and both of them have to know that the other knows that they're there. So what is really being accomplished? Anyways, Bumblebee floors it and Barricade just tries to block them instead of just T-boning them. He also changed his position in between shots and is even finishing moving forward one shot, allowing B to easily slip past him. So, Barricade's just as stupid. Great. I'm sure that won't be a portent of things to come in this film series. B flies down the road, and deciding to stand his ground rather than run anymore, ejects Sam and Mikaela and transforms to robot mode in all his glory. Barricade meets this challenge head-on and the two collide in a clash of sparks. Barricade then ejects Frenzy to go after the humans, who proceeds to do that while the studio cheaps out and has Bumblebee and Barricade fight off-screen. They also cheap out in the dialogue department by not having any snappy one-liners from Barricade. Boo! This sucks! Frenzy struggles with Sam, stealing his pants in the process, while Mikaela does something proactive by grabbing a saw from a nearby tool shed. She then cuts Frenzy apart as he screams in horror. I do have to say I'm kind of surprised a battery-powered saw can cut through Cybertronian metal when Scorponok survived much worse. Now sure, Frenzy's a lot more spindly, but I figured he'd still be a little tougher than that. It's borderline, so I'm not going to dwell on it long. Sam punts Frenzy's head away, who then finds Mikaela's bag and soon scans her phone, taking on a new disguise. So remember, ladies, that phone you spend all day on may actually be a robot in disguise, seeing all and recording all. Who am I kidding? The government's already doing that. This wouldn't make a big difference. Sam and Mikaela meet up with Bumblebee again after he beat Barricade off screen. So lame. Sam deduces that Bumblebee would have hurt him already if he wanted to and thinks he wants something from him since Barricade did. Bumblebee continues with that finding a brain thing and actually talks to Sam, although of course it's through the radio since B has been rendered mute by the writers. He manages to convey that he's an alien and awaiting friends before telling them to get in. Sam decides they should go with him, and that makes sense because there could be more Decepticons lurking around. And like Sam said, B wouldn't have gone to such lengths to protect the humans if he meant them harm. Sam then says to Mikaela,
50 years from now, when you're looking back at your life, don't you want to be able to say you had the guts to get in the car?
Good quote. I think we would all like to have more of those moments at the end of our lives. Not bad, Orson Kurtzman. I'll give you a point for a meaningful line we can all relate to. So Sam and Mikaela get in and... Alright, B, I'm taking back what I said.
You're an imbecile.
You left Barricade alive? Execute the son of a bitch. He's an enemy combatant. It's not like B is afraid to kill other enemies. And it doesn't even make sense to keep Barricade alive from a story perspective, as he hardly does anything else in this movie and doesn't show up again until the last night a decade later, although he may or may not appear in Dark of the Moon. Keeping him alive doesn't serve the plot or make sense in universe. We should have an epic battle between the two that ends with Bumblebee killing Barricade. But Paul, I hear you saying, there was no time for that in the movie. It was already jam-packed. What could they possibly have cut to make room for such a scene? No idea. No idea at all. Mikaela grabs her bag, along with Frenzy unknowingly, and presumably Sam's pants. Let's take something for ourselves as well. A break. We can pick this up later. Next time we will cover Bumblebee getting his fee-fees hurt, as well as the introduction to the Autobots, and yet another stupid scene that should have been left on the cutting room floor. Anyways, let's go out and find more stories to experience. Then I'll meet you back here, where we'll examine another one. Until next time, I've been Paul, and this has been Plot Spot.
Mom is hard. Yes, they do. I can't